When mission durations were increased during the Gemini program, the possibility that an infectious disease occurrence would adversely affect mission success also increased. The problem did not seem one of major proportions for Project Mercury, because of the risk of developing and manifesting a disease during such short-duration flights was judged to be extremely low. Even so, crew member activities were somewhat restricted in terms of contact with persons not directly involved in flight activities. While some cold and influenza symptoms were noted in crew members during the pre-flight period, no in-flight illnesses occurred during Project Mercury. When the training phase of the Gemini program began, medical personnel were still providing active support for the Mercury flights. Little attention could, therefore, be given to implementing any program of strict isolation of Gemini astronauts during the pre-launch period. Medical personnel were successful in obtaining some reduction in the number of persons with whom the crew members had personal contact and were successful, to a limited extent, in having the flight crew members live in special quarters at the launch site. During the pre-launch period, access to these living quarters was closely controlled. While no direct illness erupted in flight, most Gemini crews experienced some pre-flight illness, including colds, influenza, beta hemolytic strep infections, and mumps. During the early development of the Apollo program, steps were taken by medical personnel to document and implement a preventative medicine program to decrease the risk of illness during the pre-flight and flight periods. Because of early operational problems, no successful program could be developed for the Apollo 7 crew members. Perhaps, in part, as a consequence of this, 2 Apollo 7 crew members developed upper respiratory tract infections during the pre-launch period. These infections were successfully treated prior to launch. However, all crew members fell ill during the flight, with symptoms which continued into the post-flight period.
I've taken 2 aspirin and I'm wondering if there's anything else I can take.
Roger. Wally Houston here. Good doctors are recommending that you take 1 Actifed.
As a result of the Apollo 7 experience, a medical plan was developed for application to the prime and backup crews of future missions. The intent of the plan was to minimize exposure of crewmen to infectious diseases during the 2-week period prior to launch for the crews of Apollo 8, 9, and 10, and during the 3-week period preceding the Apollo 11 lunar landing launch. The program was designed to ensure optimal immunity, to reduce person-to-person contact, and to ensure rapid diagnosis and treatment of any diseases that might occur prior to flight. However, as had been the case in the Gemini program, the Apollo training schedules had already been developed at the time a health stabilization program was conceived, and flight crew members, in seeking to maximize their training time and familiarity with spacecraft hardware, ran the risk of incurring greater than desirable disease exposure. During the Apollo 8 pre-flight period, all crew members suffered viral gastroenteritis. Treatment appeared to be successful, and the spacecraft was launched on schedule. However, viral gastroenteritis reoccurred in the commander in flight. Before the flight, crew members had attended a dinner at the White House where, it later became known, several guests had had symptoms of influenza.
Okay, Apollo 8, this Houston.
Go ahead.
Frank, this is Chuck. The story we got from the tape and from Jim a while ago went like this. At some 10 to 11 hours ago, you had a loose BM, you vomited twice, you have headache, you've had some chills, and they thought you had fever. Is that affirmed?
Everything's true, but I don't have a fever now. I slept for a couple hours and the nausea's gone. Controlling the loose BM, I think everything's in good shape now.
Did you have a sore throat?
The roof of my mouth is sore, Roger.
And as we understand it at the moment, Frank, neither Bill nor Jim have anything at the present time except some nausea. Is that right?
No, we don't have any. None of us are nauseated now. We're all fine now.
Okay, and you have taken the Lomotil?
No, we haven't. Well, wait, pardon me. Yes, they have.
They have, and you have not?
Roger, I just woke up, Chuck. They took them while I was asleep.
Okay, I think you ought to take one, Frank, and the Marazine will help if that nausea returns.
While no rigid health stabilization program was to be established until the time of the Apollo 14 mission, increasing efforts in that direction commenced after the Apollo 8 illness episode.